Good afternoon, everyone. Those that have joined the CCMA Facebook Live, I would like to acknowledge and extend warm greetings to our governing body of the CCMA, its committees, chairperson of the governing body, Professor Enos Ngujane, the director of the CCMA, Advocate Cameron Morajane, the executive of the CCMA, senior management staff, CSA, commissioners of the CCMA, interpreters both part-time and full-time, organized labor, organized business, as well as the users of the CCMA. For the purposes of introduction, my name is Mthembeni Nganana. I look after corporate services at the CCMA. I think it is fitting that we reflect briefly on the tragic events that has surfaced. The flooding has left countless people homeless in KZN. Bridges have collapsed, houses have caved in, more than 440 people have lost their lives. About 48 people are still unaccounted for, and more than 4,000 houses have been affected. Many families have been displaced. There are things that we do not see on TV. There are things that we are not told. There are things that we do not read about on the newspapers. And that is emotions of people as well as trauma. Critical infrastructure has been uprooted. The implications of the disaster in KZN has far-reaching implications that goes beyond KZN, noting that KZN is the gateway. The Eastern Cape has not been spared as well. Also, hundreds of people in the Western Cape were left homeless after the fires in Jos Lovo informal settlement. About 260 homes were destroyed. Indeed, it is a catastrophe, as the president has said it. Before we start the business of today, I would like us to take a moment of silence and put the people of KZN, Western Cape, as well as Eastern Cape in our thoughts and prayers, especially those that were affected by floods and fire. If we could take a moment of silence, please. Secondly, as the CCMA, we denounce any form of violence and criminal activities targeted at foreign nationals. It is also important that we make that statement as the CCMA. Now, this session is intended to share information and to keep in touch with our users. We've had several sessions before, Facebook sessions, where we've shared information, and we will be engaging on matters that are of interest to you as our users. Today, as part of our submission to you, we will be making an important announcement. Dominic Fagan, you asked on our Facebook page, when are we opening the CCMA? I must indicate that the CCMA has always been operational and open. But there is a key announcement that we'll be making today. As part of our submission, we'll also be responding to the questions that you users will be posing to us, and we urge you to write those questions in our chat box. The team will be responding to those questions. There will be technical questions where the matters are still pending, and we'll take a cautious approach in responding to those questions in order to ensure that the interest of the CCMA, the interest of the parties, is protected and is not compromised by what we say in this public platform. It is indeed a public platform. I am joined by the Acting National Senior Commissioner, Mura, who will also be giving us pieces of very critical information as far as operations of the CCMA is concerned. As we are receiving presentation from Mura, I think it's important that I start with this key announcement that we'll be making. As we all know that 2020 made history, there was lockdown, there was COVID-19. We also have measures that were put in place to prevent the spread of the virus. A lot has changed. The way we work has changed. The way we do things has changed. Remote working has become the order of the day. We've seen many industries doing remote working, where coming to the office and face-to-face has reduced. We've seen increased utilization of technology, the applications. Industries are using MS Teams for virtual meetings and other platforms they are using. I must indicate that there was a price to pay for this history that was made in 2020. And the price was death, the price was infections, the price was job losses, job threats, and the decline in economy. As things are going back to normality now, as the CCMA, we also have to change the way we do things. As the CCMA, we are required to give effect to Section 23 of the Supreme Law of the Republic, that is the Constitution. We remain committed to our mandate in line with Section 115 of the Labour Relations Act. Now, the CCMA has, after consultation and giving consideration to the needs of the users and the extensive work that it has done, taken a decision to reopen offices for walk-ins. We will be reopening our offices for walk-ins. Now, what supports that decision? There is a risk assessment that has been conducted by the CCMA, which takes into account the relevant legislation, directives issued by the Minister of Employment and Labour, directives issued by the Director of the CCMA, as well as the health protocols. The 1st of May, which is Workers' Day, will be the day that the CCMA will make history again and reopen offices to walk-ins. The days of not accessing the services of the CCMA, especially the vulnerable, those that do not have access to data, those that are coming from remote and rural areas, are over, starting from the 1st of May. Our continued contribution to inclusive rural economy is demonstrated by our decision to reopen the CCMA. To note of importance, which I've indicated earlier, the CCMA has been operating, but to no walk-ins. This has been done with limited resources that the CCMA has. We have been receiving online referrals, and we have been setting down those online referrals. I want to touch on the issues of health and safety as you come to the CCMA. In our previous Facebook Live, which was conducted by Advocate Morajan, we did encourage users to vaccinate. Our employees have been vaccinated. About 50% of our employees have been vaccinated, and about 60% of our part-time commissioners have been vaccinated. So as you approach the CCMA, you have now noted and you have been advised in terms of our levels of vaccination. We will continue to exercise social distancing. Our offices will be demarcated to ensure that we comply in that respect. We are expecting queues and we'll be managing those queues. We will either be having staff to manage those queues or we'll be using service providers to manage those queues so that we ensure there is order. As the CCMA, we also have occupational health officers, occupational health and safety officers. They will monitor compliance and they will ensure that everything is according to the response plan that we have and in line with the relevant legislation and regulations that are existing at this point in time. We will be having our protective clothing such as masks or face shields, and we will expect those approaching the CCMA to wear the same, the mask. We will be having screening at every entry point, as well as we'll be having sanitizers at entry points as well as exit points. Our hearing rooms and common spaces will be cleaned regularly. Where there's a lift, building that has a lift, we urge you to adhere to the instructions as provided as you approach the lift. Most lifts will say only 3 persons at a time. The disposal of masks in an event where you want to dispose your mask, those should be disposed in demarcated bins only in demarcated bins. And we also urge you to exercise social distancing. We encourage all our users to continue using our e-platforms, including hearing of cases and the referrals using our e-platforms. As we approach winter, we are now approaching cold season. If you have symptoms of flu, please consider using our e-platforms, which I've spoken about earlier. We have a duty to prevent the spread, and we have a duty to ensure that the lives are saved. We are coming from religious gatherings, we need to protect lives. Anxiety is inevitable, especially to the employees of the CCMA. It's been 2 years we haven't been interacting with users. Decision has been made, we expect our employees to interact with users. As the CCMA, we do have a response plan, a wellness response plan, which will ensure that we deal with the issues of wellness to ensure that our employees, as they service you, they are well and healthy. Our staff will service you with pride and diligence. We are here to serve. We are not done in terms of our message. I will give the Acting National Senior Commissioner Dispute Resolution to provide other pieces of relevant information that you are waiting for. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Program Director, for quite a warm welcome. And thanks to our users, our stakeholders, who have made time to join and talk to us today, as we want to report back to them as part of our commitment to ensure that our users are really put first in everything that we do as a commission. And as indicated by the program director, firstly, just by way of introduction, colleagues, my name is Morwa. I am the Acting National Senior Commissioner of the CCMA, and I'm here to reflect on the achievements of the CCMA, the challenges that we have faced, and obviously require you to walk the journey with us going into the new financial year. For me, it's quite an honor to be talking to you as a CCMA family, reporting back, and obviously getting you to hold us accountable in everything that we do. Now, my session, colleagues, is just going to be reflecting on the past financial year to share and highlight some valuable information with you, and also have a conversation about the pertinent issues relevant to the labor market, colleagues. It has been said by the program director that you may interact with us. We have a chat box where you may put some comments, questions that will be responded to later. And by way of introduction, colleagues, as you would know, the core mandate of the CCMA is derived from the Constitution, which gave rise to the Labor Relations Act, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Employment Equity, and recently the National Minimum Wage Act. And upfront, what we need to indicate to our users is that CCMA services are for free, because we have been experiencing complaints from users that they have been made to pay for services that they were not required to pay for. And please hear it from us that CCMA services are free. No one will be charged a fee to access the CCMA services. There are touts in some of our offices where the users are approached and are made to pay, and we are asking you to please be careful, report such incidents to provincial management wherever you may be, and make sure that you help us to get rid of this problem, because it is us and you who can work together and make sure that the problem goes away. Now, there are services that, of course, we charge a cost recovery fee. There is a section in the CCMA that mainly deals with training, and in that training we are sometimes charging cost recovery fee that are reasonable based on the needs of the users, and that is the only time that at times we will require you to pay, but we will then obviously enter into, among others, service level agreements to demonstrate our commitment to you, and for that we are able to demonstrate which services users can pay for. One of the most important things, colleagues, that we pride ourselves is increasing the footprint of the Commission. CCMA has got offices in all provinces of the Republic, and in most cases, there are more than one office in most offices of the CCMA. All offices of the CCMA are manned by the provincial heads that are called provincial senior commissioners, assisted by regional senior commissioners. In other words, if there are issues as users, you may approach the offices and speak to those heads of the offices. You should be able to be assisted at any time. In terms of where those offices are, you are welcome to go to our website and be able to get our contact details where you should be able then to speak to them and get the necessary assistance that you may need. We have interpretation services in the CCMA colleagues where you don't really have to stress yourself about not being able to speak in a certain language. You can come speak in your own language. You will be assisted because CCMA has employed interpreters who at all times will assist you in whatever that you may require to be assisted with. We have full-time and part-time commissioners in the commission that are trained on a regular basis. And as I've indicated, we've got a training development team that from time to time improve our training materials so that they can put up with the labor market changes that happen from time to time, either be as a result of the jurisprudence or the judgments of the labor court that come from time to time. We have a code of conduct, colleagues, that govern the commissioner's conduct. Hence, we encourage parties that experience problem to come talk to us about issues relating to the conduct of commissioners. But over and above that, we have in-house case law monitor that seeks to empower our commissioners, our staff with the recent law in terms of jurisprudence so that we are up to date. We are ready to deal with the changes as the law evolves, colleagues. In dealing with the changes that we may have seen in terms of the 4IR, because in terms of the changes, you may now obviously realize, as indicated by the program facilitator, that a workplace definition is beginning to change. People are working from home, they are working remotely, and as a result, CCMA is also embarking on dealing with its rules to amend them to accommodate for whatever changes that we may be experiencing. The other problem that we have realized over a long period of time is that people are not following our rules, especially when they refer referrals to the CCMA. We have many email addresses, but if you go to our rules, in particular Rule 7, you will see that Rule 7 deals specifically with how you can file documents with the Commission. So we are asking our users to ensure that they use the emails contained in Rule 7 as and when they need to file referrals with the Commission, because there are times when referrals are all over the place and sometimes they do not reach the intended offices because of that specific problem. And for that, we are asking you to please go to Rule 7, look for those emails contained there, and just use them. Now, getting colleagues into the last financial year, we are able to demonstrate that CCMA was able to deal with all the referrals that were sent to it, and we have in total received 156,777 referrals, and this is 2% more than what we've received in the last financial year. And of course, the increase in referrals, colleagues, as you may recall, we had a lockdown at some point. The lockdown restrictions were eased, and as a result, we believe that the easing of this lockdown contributed to the increase in terms of the number of referrals that we have done. The program director spoke about the online platforms that are now in existence at the CCMA. And we are pleased to inform you that 17,583 of our cases were dealt with on online platforms that have been created. And we're calling upon our users to really take these online platforms, utilize them, because this has become the new normal. Going into the future, CCMA would want to use this platform because of a lot of problems. I mean, going into the new normal, colleagues, you would know that social distancing must remain. We need to be en masse. And in order for us to cope with these changes, we have come up with these new ways of doing things, including doing matters online so that people do not have to travel, people do not have to be in one place, and to avoid, obviously, certain challenges, including the need to do your cases, as speedily as possible because of the lack of space owing to the social distancing. And because of that, we are able to report to yourselves as our users that we were able to conciliate your cases within 23 days. Remember, in terms of the LRA, we have 30 days within which to conciliate. But because of these other new platforms that we have created, like the online platforms, we were able to move at speed and be able to do more matters than we would normally do in a particular period because of these alternatives that we have created. And it is for that reason that we're calling upon our users to really take the online platform serious and begin to use them. We obviously understand the issues that the society is facing, issues of inequality in terms of which some of our users may not necessarily have these resources to do these online matters. But we all know that some sectors of our society are able and are ready to embark on this new journey. And we're calling upon you as users to seriously consider helping us. We have also the workplace dispute resolution mechanisms in terms of which we can, as parties may agree, do cases at the workplaces of the employer. We will deploy commissioners to make sure that commissioners are available to go there in order to speed up doing processes, in order to avoid having to do less matters because of social distancing and the amount of space that we have in the CCMA. Now, colleagues, there are processes that we thought we need to explain to you because we're still experiencing a lot of challenges, and some of those processes, colleagues, include condonation applications. Because of the new normal that we have just experienced, colleagues, condonation applications are now being done on paper. In other words, parties must, as soon as they receive the condonation applications, exercise their rights in terms of the rules, and if they want to oppose on time, so that come the expiry of the timelines prescribed by the rules, we are able then to do the rulings on paper, be able to give you the outcomes without the need for you to come over, unless parties may feel, at times that they may want to argue. In that case, they may address us, but the approach is simply that if you have addressed all factors in the condonation application that are necessary and sufficient for the commissioner to make a proper ruling, that will be the way to go going into the future, colleagues. Issues of postponements. We have noticed that sometimes the parties would require postponements, and one of the most important things that we want to highlight is that parties must try to agree on their own. Because once you agree on your own as parties, we no longer have the discretion whether or not to grant postponement as long as you have complied with the timelines in terms of the rules. Once the postponement agreement reaches the offices of the Commission, 7 days before the actual sitting of the process, we are bound to proceed to postpone that matter and reschedule. But when you agree on a postponement, all we are also encouraging is that you may have to agree on a date, because that makes life easier for us. We know that when you've agreed on a date and it's possible for the Commission to schedule the matter on that specific date, we are guaranteed that the matter may proceed without possibly the need to postpone it further. The other method that we have started using is a stand down, because there are times where a party will say, I'm not available tomorrow, but I'm available on the second or the third day. In that case, we get the parties to agree to proceed on that second or third day so that the matter is not even delayed further, so that as quickly as possible we can deal with the matter and be able to move to other things. I spoke to you about interpretation services in the CCMA, and we have realized in many cases where parties will complain, for example, others will say, no, but I was forced to sign a settlement agreement. No, I didn't understand, I was just made to sign. we are calling upon our users to use the services of the interpreters in the CCMA, because they are mainly there to help you, explain to you what you need to understand, so that come the end of the day, you sign what you know, you sign what you agreed to, and tomorrow there are no comebacks by way of complaints that you didn't understand, that you were coerced into signing. And we must also emphasize that nobody can force you to sign if you don't want to sign. It is your decision whether or not you want to sign. And as much as you may want, please ask for more information. Please ask for an advice. Make a call if you need to make a call. Ensure that by the end of the day, when you put pen to paper, it is your decision and you have no doubt that this is the decision that you are making, so that tomorrow we don't have to deal with comebacks. Because once a settlement is signed, you will note that in the contents of the settlement, there are clauses indicated there that the settlement will not be varied unless that agreement to vary has been reduced to writing agreed by both parties. In other words, as the CCMA, if you come back and complain that, no, I was forced, and in the absence of any evidence, we may not be able to help you. So we're calling upon you to use the CCMA services of interpreters that are readily available. Ensure that as far as possible, you insist on that and wait for the interpreter, even if there may be a delay, for your own assurance of a fair process and clear understanding of what you are getting yourselves into. So that is the message that we thought we need to get out to you, so that you understand. The other thing, colleagues, in order, among others, to deal with issues of complaint, we have a system that we have introduced, which we are working on, called the JAV system. The JAV system is there to record the entire proceedings. It has a video on it where we should be able to see, should you come and complain later of certain conducts that, in your opinion, may have contributed to you, unduly being influenced into signing documents. We should be able to look into that and perhaps see. So that's an attempt on our part, but it's not in all circumstances where we will have that recording. For example, some of you would know that we're doing cases in external venues where we don't have this system. We're doing cases, as I've indicated, at the workplaces of the employers based on agreement between the parties. So in those instances, you will not have that system. So hence we are insisting that you need to indicate and insist that you need assistance by way of interpreter where there is a need for such a service. So the idea there is to try as far as possible to eliminate some of the complaints that we have seen over the years, some of which there was just no evidence, some of which, of course, we must indicate were an afterthought by some of the parties. So in order to eliminate that, we have the JEF system, among others, that will help us to deal with the problem. Now, colleagues, as part of our mandate, there is a national minimum wage that we spoke about earlier on during the introduction of my presentation. We have the role as the CCMA to assist in enforcing the National Minimum Wage Act. So where parties have issues about not being paid in accordance with the provisions of national minimum wage, you are welcome to knock at our doors. The CCMA has got staff that will help you to enforce and ensure that at the end of the day, you get what you deserve, unless there are exceptions that will be dealt with in the process. Colleagues, we have divisions like the collective bargaining. Collective bargaining, colleagues, as you may know, is simply there to support the parties during the negotiations of matters of mutual interest. Matters of mutual interest, among others, deals with issues of wage increases or any other matter that the parties may want to negotiate on. And this department has seen quite a success, of course, based on the cooperation of the parties' willingness to engage the CCMA services and to be able then to get the expert advice and opinions during those processes. And during the last financial year, colleagues, there were 3,787 mutual interest disputes that the CCMA had to deal with. And of those, we have been able to settle 58% of them. So we have successfully settled majority of those cases, of course, on cooperation from the parties in giving us the opportunity to assist them and to avert unnecessary strike actions, colleagues. And of those mutual interest disputes, we have been able to settle over 50% of the organizational rights. You would know that employees have got the right to join a trade union, and once that happens, the unions will knock at the employer's door and require the employer to give them certain rights, such as access to the workplace, rights such as the stopover facility, depending on the numbers, the right to elect shop steward, the leave for trade union representatives in those workplaces. We have dealt with Section 189A referrals where there were issues of mass retrenchments. We have deployed experienced commissioners based on what I've just indicated earlier, that we train them regularly, we give them necessary material, we conduct research, and they are able, therefore, to cope with the challenges that they come across. In those Section 189 and 189A's colleagues, we have been able to save 40% of what was to be the retrenchment of staff as a result of some of the challenges that the employers had to face. And for us, that's quite a good achievement considering what the country is facing. We've had, and we all know, what the pandemic has done to our economy. As a result, there's been challenges of keeping up with, the headcounts, of keeping up with competition out there and stuff like that. And for us to have saved 18,715, which represent 40% of staff that were likely to be retrenched, represent quite an achievement, a significant one in the labor market. So we have been also able, as the CCMA, to enter into certain sectors, particularly the mining sectors, to assist them in the pre-bargaining conferences in order for them not to embark on possible industrial action due to differences that they may face during the wages and conditions of employment negotiations. By way of example, we have been to Fosco in the Limpopo province, where we have assisted them with the pre-bargaining process, because in the pre-bargaining process, we give information based on research in the labor market as to what is the trend happening out there, so that when the parties are formulating their proposal for negotiations, they are well informed of what is taking place in the labor market. They are able to couch their proposals in line with what is happening so that they are reasonable and they are able to demand or to propose that which is within reach, from the employer or within the parties. We have been to the food and beverage sector. We've done the same thing in terms of wages and conditions, where FAU, Kiwuza, and Clover had a conciliation. So we've assisted them in that regard. You would know, for example, in the mining sector, there was a big dispute in the gold mining sector at the Sibanye Stillwater. CCMA was able to assist them there to obviously, among others, do ballots, make sure that those ballots are properly conducted before any industrial action is taken. We have been to the mining sector, providing ongoing collective bargaining support. And with those few examples, colleagues, we have been able to therefore put stability in the labor market as part of the objects of the LRA. So for that, we are really proud to come back and report to you as our users that CCMA has done well. We have indicated that we have a section in the CCMA that provides training, dispute prevention and workplace outreach. Colleagues is out there to ensure that as far as possible our users are trained, that our users are informed in terms of the recent labor market changes, in terms of, for example, cases that have been decided by the Concord, so that when people refer cases to the CCMA, they just don't refer simply because they feel that, they were hard done by decisions of the employer, but simply because they are informed by those developments and are able to say, we have a case to be tested at the CCMA, because some of our cases, we must indicate, were found to be frivolous, where they were really hopeless merits to the cases, and as a result, their cases get dismissed. So in that way, we are helping the labor market to be able to make conscious decisions, especially to trade unions when they advise members, when they give them advices on whether or not they have merits in their cases, so that when they come to the CCMA, they have a case that the employer may have to answer to. So with those services, we have been able to seriously assist our users. Colleagues, we also have the information services section that deals, among others, with the complaints. We receive complaints about our services on daily basis, and for that we are committed, colleagues, to ensure that such complaints are attended to on time, that those complaints are as far as possible investigated, and feedback is given to our users based on the outcomes of those investigations. Of course, we need to highlight the fact that we still have a challenge of our users not able to distinguish on complaints that can be dealt with at the CCMA level and such complaints or such issues that may have to be referred to the Labour Court in terms of Section 145 and or Section 158 of the Labour Relations Act. There are instances where we tell our users the complaint has more to do with the provisions of Section 145, and as a result, you are advised, should you wish to do so, approach the Labour Court for assistance in that regard. Colleagues, the training and development is out there to, as I've indicated, assist our commissioners. One of the successes that we have seen over the years is commissioners able to access the latest information about the labor market, to access the very latest information that will help them make, proper decisions informed by the decisions of the courts, as you would know, that our decisions must conform with the decisions of the high courts, in particular the labor courts, the Labor Appeal Court, and also the Constitutional Court. So training and development unit is out there to ensure that they do such research, they do such update of our training materials, and ensure that whatever training that we give is based on the recent developments in the labor market. So when we give out the trainings, colleagues, we would have done a research. That's why we are confident that even when we charge a cost recovery fee, there will be value for money for yourselves, and as a result, we are not hesitant to really go out and promote the services in the training development that we give to our users, because they are based on the latest in the labor market. So should you want such services, you are encouraged to go to the nearest offices of the CCMA, ensure that you see the training division or the dispute prevention and workplace outreach facilitators that are out there to assist you in that regard. Now, a little bit has been touched by the program facilitator in terms of the 4IR. We spoke so far about issues relating to online matters. Again, we have also introduced the referral portal where parties are able to go online, and instead of walking into our offices, instead of resorting to the normal way of filing referrals, they can just go online and be able to drop their referrals in that online portal and ensure that at the end of the day, they have really used the online facilities that CCMA has put up. And we are therefore encouraging you as part of our efforts to move with the changing times, to manage the space that we have, to comply with social distancing, to please use our online services that we have put in place. Now, getting into 22-23, colleagues, you may have heard, as per the program director's address earlier, that we are opening our doors to our users. We are still going to enforce some of the regulations, colleagues, by way of ensuring that you put up the mask as and when you access our offices, so that we do not expose some of our users, so that we do not expose the CCMA staff. We are asking you to cooperate with us. We are asking you to ensure that when you come into the CCMA services, you observe such regulations that are necessary to ensure that life is really saved. And on that note, I don't want to really spend much on the changes that are coming, but we are excited as the Commission that we will be opening our doors to our users. We understand what you have gone through, especially those vulnerable users that may have not been able to access our online facilities. And for that, we must indicate that it was necessary at the time to do that. We have had the President now uplifting the disaster. And as a result, we are safe to say, look, let's get back and try and open our doors. But of course, with your cooperation, I believe we will succeed. We have a division that is responsible for the ICT infrastructure in the Commission to ensure that as far as possible, we service you online. One of the things that we have had is that some of our users will complain that they receive the links for their processes on the day of the proceedings and not days before, so that they do not have to experience delays of having to wait for the link before they could join. We have noted your concern, we are working on it, and we will try and ensure that as far as possible going into this new financial year, that problem is resolved. Of course, you would know that we have experienced a reduction of allocation in terms of the budget. That has been a problem for the CCMA. It remains a problem, but we undertake to do our best with the little we have. Of course, with your cooperation, among others, in terms of some of the measures that we have put in place. And as a result, we are saying, with your cooperation, with your assistance, we should be able to live within our means and survive the coming financial year to ensure that we service you as our users to the best of our ability. Now, colleagues, we have a stakeholder division called Governance and Strategy Department, among others, that is responsible for stakeholder management. And we are pleased to indicate that we have been able to conclude memorandum of understanding with some of them. One example could be SALGA, South African Local Government, where they have come to the party to help us, among others, with the availability of space. We know and we acknowledge that some of our users, because of distances, because of the vulnerability, are not able to access our spaces, our offices, because they may have to travel long distances, they may have to spend money which they do not have. So the idea there, colleagues, is to spread our footprints to all parts of our provinces, ensure that as far as possible, our users do not have to travel that long, do not have to spend a lot of money to access our services. Of course, some of the examples of online for those that have the resources will also assist in ensuring that people do not necessarily have to travel such distances. Among others, with SALGA, we want to do managing conflict management, colleagues, and building workplace relations. Those are some of the services that we'll be offering, and we are calling upon our users and stakeholders to come forward and talk to us about how best we can serve them. Colleagues, we collaborate on strategic researches, among others, on such things. We've established work streams, colleagues, in terms of facilities. I've spoken a little bit about that. Intelligence work streams, also exist, and continuous development work streams. And we also address issues of labor market work streams. Also, colleagues, you would know that there are international labor conferences. CCMA, or there is a labor conference tentatively scheduled for the 22nd to the 23rd of September 2022. I'm sure closer to the time we'll come and confirm that we are proceeding with the conference. And I think in a nutshell, colleagues, that sums up the report that we thought we should share with you. Most of the achievements, the challenges that we have touched on in terms of the spaces, for example, some of the challenges on our online facilities. We acknowledge, colleagues, that we have challenges such as fraud, as sometimes we get those complaints, and we just thought we need to share with you, once again, the toll-free numbers that we have so that you are able to communicate whatever you may be seeing on the floor. And if you may write the toll-free number of the CCMA as 0860 666 438. 0860 666 438. We also have an online, ccma@behonest.co.za. We have a WhatsApp at 0860 004 004. 0860 004 004. In that way, we will work together and we will achieve more as a society. Thank you, Program Director.
Okay, thank you, Acting NSC. We have received a few questions. I have indicated earlier that questions must be typed in the chat box. Sianda Kumana, you've asked a question about the cost of our training interventions. Please do go to our nearest CCMA offices, specifically ask for Dispute Prevention and Workplace Outreach Coordinator. They will be able to give you a quotation on a specific training intervention that you are interested in. Mpho Shedrax, you asked about the status of your case. The Provincial Senior Commissioner in Bloemfontein, who's responsible for Free State and Northern Cape, will contact you about that case. Tabang TK, you've asked about the status of your case. If you could contact the office and the Johannesburg office and ask for the Provincial Senior Commissioner, who will then assist you. We note that you say you haven't heard from the office, but we are willing to assist you. Those are the questions that I have noted. The other questions, as we receive the questions, we will respond to all of those questions and we'll put the answers on our chat box. At this point in time, we'd like to thank all our users for taking your time to listen to CCMA. We are committed to serving you. Workers' Day, the 1st of May, I know it's not a working day, but the Workers' Day, the 1st of May, our offices will be open for walk-ins. We will see you then. Thank you.